Everyone, and welcome. I hate when you do that. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Troutdale Planning Commission for Wednesday, January 11th, 2023. If we could have roll call, please.
Commissioner Wittrin.
Present.
Commissioner Wydilla. It's not going to be here. Commissioner Leamy.
Here.
Commissioner Prickett. Commissioner Wilcox.
Here.
Commissioner Allen.
Here.
And Chair Stephenson.
Here. Okay, at this time, I would like to ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and Commissioner Leamy will be leading us this evening.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, is there anyone wishing to speak to the Planning Commission this evening on a non-agenda item? Adrian, you good? Okay. All right, I think that covers the public. And we'll move on to the next item, which will be adopting the finding of fact for LU 0022-2022 from the December 16th.
I have physical copies if anyone wants some of the findings.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I was reading on my phone,
Great.
but this would be much easier.
Okay, and I take it everyone received a copy of these.
Give me one of those copies out.
Yeah.
Okay. And these did get stamped by legal, okay. So Ed, just for clarification, you went through and cleaned it up, and then the non-bolded text is what you added.
I'm sorry, there was some static and I didn't quite hear what you said after non-bolded text.
You added the non-bolded text, right?
Yeah, yes.
And then cleaned up some stuff, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any discussion on these?
So I guess just reiterating what we have already said, just criterion A.
That was the goal,
Criterion E is not met.
right?
The goal is for the written document to reflect what the discussions, evidence, and conclusions of the Planning Commission were. So if you see something otherwise, that wouldn't be normal.
Okay.
Just a formatting piece, but it just blends right in where it says criteria not met. For
Yeah, I
E
know, I got that
Is-
circled.
In black and not red.
Did you see that, Alex?
Yeah, I can make that change.
Yeah.
I just don't want to get
lost.
'Cause I'll take the blame for having done that.
I was trying to save you there, Mr. Trumpke.
I am never averse to telling people when I'm wrong.
Write that down. Okay. Any corrections? Anybody sees?
This is exactly what was sent to us.
I have one under the final order at the bottom. It's case number LU0022, not LU0021.
Okay. Well, the 1 and the 2 are close together. Okay.
So it should be as amended.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else, Alex?
Not that I found.
All right. If there's no corrections other than those, entertain a motion on these.
Chair, I make a motion that we accept the findings of fact and final order and decision for LU 0022-2022 Khalid Troutdale as amended.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the finding of fact and final order for case file LU 0022-2022 Khalifa Troutdale as amended. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, fire away, sir.
Commissioner Wittrin,
Yes.
Commissioner Leamy,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilcox,
No.
and Commissioner Allen,
Yes.
and Chair Stephenson.
Yes. Okay, that passes. All right. Okay, moving along to one of our favorite subjects, text amendments. And we'll start off with probably the most one on the front of everybody's mind from the last meeting is marijuana. So we're looking at cannabis facilities. And what we originally tried to do was limit their placement somewhat within the code. And Salem had made some changes last year. I believe it was, or was it the year before?
I'm not sure exactly when that change was made. I don't know if Ed, you're aware either, but
Okay. They had made some changes to allow them to be cited in quite a few more areas than what was originally planned by some cities. And so the discussion had come up as far as what we could do as a city and what we can't do as a city. And so I happened to find something and then talked to Ed about it, and Ed had found it too, where in a nutshell, we would do what's called an opt-out, where the city would not issue any licenses for retail cannabis facilities, but there would need to be, this item would need to be placed on the ballot for the next general election and would need to be ratified by the voters. So in other words, we'd make the decision now, and then it would go to the voters in fall of '24, and then they would basically yay or nay. that decision. And the thought would be that we would do this and the voters would uphold it. But that is a way to effectively limit them.
So what happens with existing?
They would be non-conforming uses, correct? They'd be grandfathered in.
Yeah, essentially, I think
Right.
it would stop the new addition.
Right, it would be no new ones. The existing ones would still be here.
That's shaking its head, yes.
Chair, if I may add, I spoke yesterday to Eric Mueller, the city's finance officer, about how this might impact the shared revenue, the taxes that the city collects from the state, from the 17% state imposed tax. If the city opts out, it will lose its revenue share piece of that. But that piece has been declining over the years. A few years ago, it was $65,000, then down to $50,000. And most recently, it had fallen to about something a little over $20,000 because the state legislature keeps redirecting those funds to other places and away from the cities on the revenue share. So there is a small financial impact to opting out, but it wouldn't apply until the voters vote on it, and it will probably be talked about in the voters pamphlet. But Eric didn't think it was a huge piece, but you should all just be aware of it.
Mr. Trumke, if we were, we would still have marijuana facilities, so why would we not be part of the revenue share?
You'd lose the revenue share if you opt out of any of the kinds of, I think there are 4, 8, 9 or 10 different kinds of facilities that the state regulates. If you opt out of any of the retail ones or recreational use ones, then you lose the revenue sharing. That's apparently the legislature is trying to encourage cities to allow marijuana to be sold everywhere. And I won't editorialize on that thought.
Okay.
Forward comment or?
Yeah, we'll take public comment here in just a second. Okay.
But that is probably the only negative that that we're aware of at this time. And so I'll mute myself again.
Well, that you may have to drive further to get a cannabis product, I guess would be the downside.
Or ride your bicycle, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Any public comment on this? I'm not seeing any. Okay. All right. Commissioners?
Well, I'll start. I'm supportive of the idea to suspend any new marijuana licensing and putting it to the voters, because let's see what Troutdale has to say, let's see what our public has to say, and ultimately put it back in the public's hands to make that decision at the end of the day. But as we've seen, where licenses are trying to squeak in, where we obviously are questioning how close to schools, close to parks, close to safety concerns, right in very public, very congested areas. It's very concerning to me, and I believe it's very concerning to neighbors I've talked to. And I think going back to a general vote is a very good way to gauge the city, and suspending it for now is a good take on it, and yeah, that'd be a good place to start.
Okay. Commissioner Laney?
So it looks, okay, so previously we had to be north of the freeway.
Correct.
Now
Basically,
some-
yeah.
basically, somehow that got omitted. It looks like from this that we can't territorialize location.
Right.
Um,
We had a park exception and the park exception isn't valid anymore.
Right. So my thought is that this is, I'm in favor of going this direction. I just don't want necessarily the existing one to be put out of business because of what we've done here. It's in the location that we wanted it in, if we were gonna have it.
I would agree.
And it doesn't sound like we're gonna lose that much money from the state. You know, by the time the voters vote on it, it could be pretty much all gone. At the rate
It's
it's going.
possible, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Well, I'm a product of the 60s. I was raised with marijuana, literally.
What it did.
Yeah. And I'm normal. But the thing is that I just don't see that we need it near every school and every park. You know, Troutdale's not a very big city. If somebody in my family wants to get a hold of marijuana, you can easily get there and get it. So I just don't see the need to be everywhere. And so since we can't be somewhere, then I would obviously support this change.
Okay. Commissioner Wilcox?
Yes. What I'm reading in the page entitled "A Way to Prohibit," it says, in order to prohibit such businesses, the council must adopt an ordinance to be referred to the voters. So looks to me like it's the council's job, not the planning commission's job.
We're making a recommendation to council. It ultimately is their decision, but we're making a recommendation to them.
Okay.
If I may add, when this came up with me, when I was asked to look at the text amendments to the zoning code, and this doesn't necessarily have to be in the development code. It could be in the municipal code, but it can also be in the development code. So the crossover is more, well, it arose out of looking at the zoning code. So yeah, but Chair Staffenson's absolutely right. Ultimately, council has to adopt any code changes.
So we would look at changing the code and looking at asking council to pass a resolution.
Actually, ordinarily, they would adopt a resolution to refer it to the voters, but the statute says it's supposed to be done by ordinance. So for whatever reason, I think that was probably a typo at the legislature. They didn't realize it could be done by resolution, but statute says what it says. So we've got to do what it says.
So we'll ask them to do an ordinance. Okay. All right. Anyone else good on that? Yes.
Commissioner Wilcox, I don't know if I really got your opinion or your thoughts, and as a leader in this community, and as long as you've been voicing your opinion, and I really just would like to know some of your thoughts, and as I try not to have my own personal opinion here, but I try to have the public's view here, I would like to know what your thoughts are on this as you kind of deferred with really letting us know what you're thinking.
Okay. I had second thoughts on the finding of facts for one thing. After reminding myself that back in November of 2014, Troutdale's two precincts both approved retail marijuana, and the citizens knew what the state imposed restrictions were, and they seemed satisfied that that was sufficient. So I don't, I'm fine with putting it to the voters again if they want to reconsider, but they did pass it originally.
Chair Stephenson,
Commissioner Allen?
I would agree with Commissioner Leamy here. I would leave the existing facilities alone.
Right.
And, I think as we clarified, just due to grandfather, they would be left alone.
Yeah, I think putting anybody out of business is a bad idea.
No, they did it just the way we had agreed to do it, and so.
Chair Stephenson.
Yes.
So what, I'm devil's advocate here, what happens if the city votes it in?
Then the ordinance would be repealed, correct?
Do we have other options?
If I may,
I think it's back to the drawing board, isn't it?
essentially,
Yeah.
I mean, can we territorialize it like we did before?
No.
Not retail and wholesale sales. There is some more probable flexibility with the processors and all, but not for the sales.
And I'm not gonna lie, John, Commissioner, I struggle with that as well as my own beliefs or my own thoughts, but if it is truly the will of the public and what they want, sometimes it's not always what we want to do. I struggle.
But can we put parks back in?
No.
We can't put parks.
No. The state felt that that was too strong of a regulation. But also too, that was 2017, this is 2024. It could pass by a landslide or it could fail by a landslide. You don't know what that next election is going to bring. Not that it's a total will or, a perfect cross section, but we heard a lot of testimony that was not in favor. And, that's more what I'm looking at.
Agreed.
Okay, so we'll make a recommendation to council. For an ordinance limiting the retail sales of marijuana or opting out under the state option, which would be limiting. And then we'll ask them to pass that as quickly as possible. They'll do 2 readings on it.
Can we make it clear that existing facilities would continue?
I'm sure we can, yeah. Okay. Ed's nodding his head. That's all we need. Okay. So is everyone good with an ordinance to council?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so I guess we'll take a motion that the planning commission recommend.
Sure. Yes. I will make a motion that the planning commission make a motion to city council for an ordinance opting out of the state program
Mhm.
and limiting the use or the sale of marijuana within Troutdale.
And can we do a friendly amendment to include new licenses only?
Yeah. to
It wouldn't
include
affect
new
existing
to include
licenses.
New licenses only.
Okay.
Old licenses will be grandfathered.
Okay. And it's a recommendation by us.
Recommendation to.
Okay,
I would second that with the amendment.
okay. So we have a motion and a second for the planning commission to make a recommendation to city council to forward an ordinance of opting out of the state program for retail marijuana sales. Work?
Yep.
Okay. All right, any discussion on that? Okay,
So we're only opting out of retail, so.
we are opting out of all of it, right? I
Not
believe,
just retail.
yeah,
All of it.
you're right.
All sales.
Okay,
Commissioner Wittrin,
Yes.
Commissioner Leamy,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilcox, Commissioner Wilcox,
No.
Commissioner Allen,
Yes.
and Chair Stephenson.
yes. Okay. All right.
Mr. Chair, with your permission, then I will say some money and log off at this point, if that's all right with you.
That's fine. Go
Thank
do
you.
some- Thank
Good night.
you. Thanks. Have a good evening, sir.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
An attorney that's concerned about billing. How often do you see that? Okay, and so we would have a code amendment for this, right?
My understanding is that the code amendment could be done once the vote is finalized to update our language. Say they do decide to vote yes to ban all retail, then we can go in and remove all of our references and insert
We would do it
language.
at that time.
Yeah.
Okay.
The way the current code reads and the way that the state law supersedes our ordinances that are like currently within our development code and on our books, I think the likelihood of another location applying for it is very slim, just because if they say they do meet the school distance requirement, they still have to meet all the other criteria points within a conditional use application, regardless of where it's at. So there's the loophole as far as the park thing is, there's nothing we can do to add it back, but the chances of them finding something that's 1,000 feet from a school and also meets all the criteria is relatively pretty low.
Hard. And then you've also got the argument of how is it measured and all these other things too. Pardon me? Yeah. So there's a lot to it. Okay, so we'll take those up when the ordinance passes, or if the ordinance passes. Okay,
So you're measuring from the structure or the property line?
yeah. That was a big argument,
Yeah.
but it is from the property line.
I keep saying retail and it's actually all marijuana, like processing, any of it, right?
Yeah, it would be all of it, because we'd be opting out. You can't opt out of just one,
Right.
but
So
if
it's
we
not-
could, we would probably just opt out of retail.
If we could, yeah.
Yeah, because we don't have any issues with processing at this time.
So it's almost, in a way, analysis to, do you really want to be promoting cigarettes amongst young people?
That's why we play around.
Yeah, it's just. Yeah.
I know, you don't really want to be promoting that.
You don't want to try to recruit young people to be doing something that, I get the argument that there's some health benefits, but there's also health risks. I've been around it long enough to know that.
You grew up with it, you were born in the 60s, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Other text amendments.
More smoke, more music, especially.
You guys don't have anything you're chomping at the bit to get changed, do you?
Not at the moment.
I like that.
So we're just keep on thinking we have something to discuss. Another text. I don't want to create more.
Variance, maybe. What was the only other one that came in? Okay,
Yeah, let's move on.
okay.
Nothing.
You have none?
No.
You have none? Mr. Wilcox? Other text amendments. He's got to have something. I'll be disappointed if he doesn't. There he goes.
Nothing offhand.
He said no? Wow. All right. Okay, so that could be it. Okay. All right.
So staff communications, my colleague Melissa sent over some things to talk about. We are entering the final home stretch for the Parks Master Plan update. The public comment period for that draft is open through January 23rd, and I will be sure to send a link with all of the where to find that if you wanted to participate, to leave some reviews and comments on that. The 257 Safety Improvements Project is beginning. They are planning for safety improvements along 257th between Cherry Park and Stark Street. There's a website link for an upcoming open house this month. It says information will be posted soon, so I would check that out. The City Council approved the amendment on December 13th to adopt the Transportation System Plan, and you can find the adopted plan on the city's website if you'd like to take a look at it. The Main Streets on Halsey says that we're beginning work on this project. Information, public event dates, and other involvement opportunities will be posted at this website. They are looking for a Troutdale resident who rides their bike to join the Public Advisory Committee. Please let us know if you are interested. The meeting dates, there's 3 dates, one in February, one in May, and one in August. And the project purpose is the Main Streets on Halsey cross-section and street design plan will build on previous plans of the Main Streets on Halsey project to transform the 3-mile stretch of Northeast Halsey from a busy, nondescript, car-dominated arterial into a vibrant, attractive pedestrian and bicycle-friendly Main Street. The plan will revise Multnomah County's street cross-section and develop 10% design plans for the project corridor. So if you have any questions about that stuff, I would reach out to Melissa Johnston. She'd be able to give more information about those projects. And I will send out an email to you all with the links for all of the public comment and different stuff that's going on.
One just off the top of my head. So we're looking at doing some type of a rapid bus system.
On Halsey?
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that a suggestion that we should look into it, or
No, it's something that TriMet wants to do.
okay.
And so what I'm wondering is, since it would be coming down Halsey, is this going to affect that street profile at all?
I could look into that.
Okay.
And bring it back next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd say let them perfect the Division 1 first.
Yeah.
Or let them do the Division 1 first?
They did one on Division. And they had to pull all their buses because they were falling apart.
I work
Bolts were falling out of them, and
on the division.
the division one, they pulled all those buses.
I did not know.
The articulated ones? Yeah.
Yeah. I did not know that because I worked on the project as it came into Gresham. I worked on the stationary development, and I don't believe any of the right-of-way was lost. Point is that the bus actually operates within the right-of-way, and it's signalized in a way that allows the buses and the cars to operate together. But with all that said, I will still ask TriMet the question about what their vision is for BRT on Halsey.
Thanks.
Yep.
So you would just like it with buses that work?
They don't fall apart.
Right. That's too bad. Yeah.
Transit has a lot of issues these days. Just throwing it out. We all live and work post-COVID. So it's interesting. It's an interesting dilemma for transit agencies around the country to figure out what they're going to do when they grow up, if they're even going to be around. It's interesting.
Ridership down quite a bit.
Ridership's down quite a bit.
How much?
And I don't know the specific numbers, but it's down, and then you have changes in technology with, autonomous vehicles and things like that coming online probably in our lifetime, of how that's all going to affect ridership in electric cars and more electric cars. It's just an interesting time to be a transit agency, which is kind of why in some respects, at least for TriMet, they're getting back into the development business. So they used to be, until recently, sort of moving people, but as you might know, they're now helping to develop projects. So one project is like at 42nd Street in the Hollywood neighborhood, where they're working to help build a 10-story building. So if you can't necessarily, so you kind of take that last mile, which is kind of one of the difficulties they have in transportation. How do folks get there? Well, if you provide the housing at the station, now you've provided an opportunity to just jump on. Now, in that case, it's light rail. So anyway, there's a lot of moving parts with transit agencies, but they're trying to not just necessarily move people, but now provide housing places for people to live. So the Gresham Library, East County Library has a huge housing component to it, not being built by the voters, but being built by TriMet as part of their site. It's just interesting. So,
Are they good at that?
in terms of the
Building
development?
things?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I think they're good at it. I mean, they're working with develop their own in-house development staff, which I think is pretty talented, and they bring in folks as needed, and they work with, frankly, they work with world-class engineers and architects. So, I'd like to see some of the products out of the ground, but I think they'll be better than what we otherwise get maybe from a private developer.
Okay.
We'll see.
I found it interesting. I went to a regional transportation meeting, and only 2 of us actually took transit to get there. I found that interesting. So I think the desire for personal transportation is always going to be there. And we've seen it in our lifetime where the vehicles have gotten smaller and lighter and more efficient. And I think that trend is going to continue.
I think you're right.
But I don't think the desire for personal transportation is actually going to go away. And with COVID, that kind of increased that risk. What we've got now is the awareness of not only risk from disease, but risk from violence on our transit system that is
Transit system is
discouraging
struggling from
ridership.
that point too. You're absolutely right. It's super unfortunate.
That's been a tough one for them lately.
For this transit agency, I think anecdotally, I think larger transit agencies aren't affected the same way. But I think it's more kind of like that eyes on the street notion. I mean, the
Marijuana.
problem you have here is that you can get on a station, get on a train and you can be the only person on that particular train car. That feels uncomfortable. If you get on a train car in New York City, there's 1,000 people with you on that train car. Not that something can't go wrong, but there is a self-regulating, but they sort of regulate it that way. And that's just anecdotal. So, anyway. To Alex's point, I just wanted to add one thing, and Alex did a great job. We do have a TCAB meeting tomorrow night to continue the conversation about the Confluent site, and the TCAB committee will be looking at the teams in terms of their makeup and the teams in terms of how they meet the criteria that was spelled out on the request for qualifications, and that's open to the public via Zoom. So
Really exciting time. That it?
that's it.
Oh my gosh, okay.
That's it.
Meet with you tomorrow night.
Commissioner Wilcox. For the good of the order.
Yeah, when Alex was doing the updates, I was reminded that the light industrial amendment was pushed off by council and it wasn't on last night's agenda. So
Yes.
I know it's Ray Young and the mayor that puts the agenda together, but I just wondered where that stands.
They kicked that back. Light industrial amendment.
Right. So that'll be coming before all of you, right?
Yeah, they wanted us to look at it and send it back, so we could do that at our next meeting. Would that be okay, Alex?
Yeah, I think so. I think that would be.
I don't think that's gonna take very long.
Chair, I would like to check in, is that a priority for you, or could we wait another meeting to get there? I just want to make sure that it's good. This is something this is working on.
Yeah. No, it's fine.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
And I can get back to you on that
Yeah, absolutely.
tomorrow. I just
Yeah,
appreciate it.
sure.
Friday.
Very good point, Mr. Wilcox. Thank you. So we'll review that and then send that back up to council. Put a bow on it. Anything else, Commissioner Wilcox?
That was it, thanks.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Woodford.
I'd just like to make a comment about the council meeting last night. I was very encouraged by the new Multnomah County Sheriff. She was very encouraging by some of the comments she had to say last night about keeping Troutdale unique, and every community is unique, and being more involved in events, and having the experience out here in Troutdale. It was just very encouraging to hear her speak. Not trying to compare us to Portland or Gresham or put us in a niche, but keeping us whole as a small town feel. So I genuinely felt like she was being genuine, and it made me feel good overall from a Troutdale resident to hear that from a very large county sheriff like that. So
Yeah, so
if you get a
Sheriff
chance.
O'Donnell has actually helped out a number of our events in the city
Yeah.
through the years.
So it was good. Now that she's leaving the county, I thought it was very encouraging to hear that. She was very supportive. So, but other than that, that's another great meeting. I think this may be record time. So yeah, that's all I have. Thank you.
It's not record time, okay? But it is up there. I was gonna say, just a personal thought, looking at, and I'm sure Captain Asbo is very good. I just look back to when this whole merger evolution happened, and we were kind of told that we were gonna have kind of the same person here for long periods of time. And it seems like they're either drawing the short straw or the long straw, and they get Troutdale. And then the next time they draw, it's somebody else that's drawing. I mean, just for me, it's hard to keep track of even who's here. I
Don't
think
they
we've
get-
had like 6 or 7, right? Yeah,
So I know on
Isn't
a lot of those positions, they get the bid for the position based on their seniority. But however, this may be one that's chosen, I don't know. I'm not sure what their process is. But it is different than what we were talking about initially,
what we were told.
yeah.
It just seems like sometimes there's a little bit of a turnstile going on.
Hopefully Captain Asbo will be here for a while. He's newly promoted, and hopefully this will stick around for a while. I hope. Cross my fingers.
Well, I look forward to getting to know him.
Yeah.
He seems, genuinely, the times that I've had talking to him after meetings, he's taking the time and making the effort.
You're really looking for somebody who cares, right? And,
Yeah.
It's going to do a good job, so.
All right.
Chair, I'll make a motion that we adjourn this evening's meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I
Opposed? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Yes.